Hey, Ideal Protein Nation around the world. Coming to you a little bit early this week. Man, I'm so excited about this episode. I had to get it out even a day early. You've got to meet one of my new best friends. Real quick, for those of you who don't know about the Life Possible podcast, I think we're going to have a lot of new listeners this week. The Life Possible podcast spotlights successful clients, coaches, and clinic owners who have used the Ideal Protein protocol to reset their body, reset their mind, and actually reset what's possible for their life. These individuals have truly had life-changing transformational experiences, and as such, they're pursuing goals and dreams that they thought were dead and gone. They're pursuing goals and dreams they never knew they could. In fact, some of them are pursuing goals and dreams they never knew they even wanted to. In short, these people are living lives that they love so much that they don't feel the need to take a break from it, to get away from it. They're living lives that they love so much they can't even imagine going back to the way that things were. It's my hope that you will see and hear these stories and see these individuals and understand that they're just like you, and that you will connect with something they say, and that will start you on your own journey to life possible through the Ideal Protein protocol. Who am I? Well, I'll show you who I am. My name is Dr. John Barnes. And about 5 years ago, well, there's really no good way to put this. About 5 years ago, I was fat, sick, and depressed, and I didn't see a way out. And for me, I will tell you that the Ideal Protein program came to me as nothing short of answer to many of my prayers, both personally and professionally. Initially, I did the protocol and lost 45 pounds in 9 weeks. But the big deal about that was it wasn't just about the weight loss. It totally transformed my life. I hadn't felt that good in years and years and years, and I just never want to let that go. So after that happened, I researched the true power of this protocol, which is more what it does for you on the inside of your body in its metabolic transformation than anything it really does on the outside. At this stage of the game, I'm over 60 pounds down from that original picture there, and I'm pursuing my life possible by participating, training, and racing in the sport of triathlon after over 25 years of inactivity. I got to tell you, I feel nothing short of healthy, vibrant, and alive. So who do we have this week for you? Oh my God, this is so awesome. George Watson is my guest this week, and he's instantly become my new best friend. George is coming to us all the way from Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. He was nominated by his Ideal Protein clinic owner, Zan Rometer, at Vital Body Weight Loss Center in Burnaby, British Columbia. George Watson is a 15-year organizational coach who specializes in bringing accountability and integrity into organizations. He's worked with thousands of people over that time and produced triple-digit gains working with his clients for no less than 12 months. He has been certified through thebusinesscoach.com out of Sacramento, California since 2006 and remains accountable to that body. Over the last 30 years, George has also worked as a pastor in a church, led 3 companies, worked for a nonprofit in helping change legislation for small businesses in Canada, and did some HR consulting as well. Most recently, George has used his commitment distinctions to lose 130 pounds in 12 months, utilizing the Ideal Protein protocol. But what he is most proud of is being happily married to his wife, Laureen, for 30 years and raising 3 functional adult children, Jonathan, Ashley, and Stephanie. Please, a big Life Possible welcome to George Watson. George, where are you?
Hey, I'm right here.
There he is. What an entrance. What an entrance.
Well, I had to be different. Just the way I'm made.
That's just the way you're made, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, George,
It's good to be
I
with
want to
you.
start right out of the gate. There's a couple of special distinctions you have. I wanted to share with everybody that George and I met last Thursday over a video call. after he contacted me, I contacted him after Zan nominated him. And I tell you, we hit it right off and had a blast for about 45 minutes when we realized all the different things that we have in common. And so what was funny, I thought was really great during that interview, I asked you if you'd ever listened or saw any of my podcasts, and what was your answer?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And so along with an email with a couple of different things we had discussed, I sent him an email with a couple of my favorite books and articles, and then 2 of the episodes that I thought that he might enjoy the most. What did he do? Oh, dear Lord. You actually watched and/or listened to all 12 episodes in a matter of what, 3 days?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Once I started, I couldn't stop.
I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, the stuff I got from it, the knowledge, the inspiration. I mean, there's something really cool when you're running and you're hearing people changing their lives in your ears, and it's just fascinating to me how people do that.
So we've got to bring everybody into this part of your story, and I wanted to start off this way, and we'll go back to your ideal protein journey after that. So on Thursday, when we first met, you shared with me what you were actually going to accomplish this past weekend, and you said, well, I'm getting ready to run my very first marathon ever. And I said, what?
I was reluctant to even bring it up to you just in case I didn't make it.
Yeah, right. I don't blame you.
But
you know
now
what?
I put it out there, so it's just another way to be committed to it.
Exactly. It sounds to me like that fits right into your scheme of being and holding yourself accountable and having integrity. So, when you say that you're going to do something like that, you got to follow through, right? That's
right. Absolutely.
So he said, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this marathon, and there's this app that I'm going to be a part of, and you can follow me. So I've done that with a couple of my clients as they have done races and things. And so I immediately downloaded the app and made sure that I was ready for Sunday. So this past Sunday, I want you to tell us about this experience. You ran your first marathon ever. First off, how old are you, George?
51.
51 years old.
Just turned 51. Yeah, I'm a spring chicken according to most.
Absolutely. Well, we've just starting to hit midlife. We are.
Yeah.
Just starting.
So that's the finish line there.
Yeah.
My wife on the left, my oldest daughter Ashley there on the right, holding the little streamer. Yeah. And it's a beautiful place in Vancouver, the Seawall, Stanley Park, one of the most beautiful parks in North America. Just absolutely gorgeous. I'd never been around the perimeter of the park ever, and I've lived here most of my life. So it was all new to me, and it was so inspiring to end the run around the park, because on a Sunday like I did it, there was tons of runners, which helped me keep my pace up at the very end. It's 10 kilometers around there. I don't know how many miles it is, but it's 10 kilometers around the park, about 6.
Yeah, 6 miles.
So, I was really smart to actually, not that I knew I was smart on this, but when I planned this, I was just thinking, hey, I've never gone around Stanley Park. I'd love to do it. But it was brilliant because the runners, and I found 2 or 3 runners that I could match their pace right at the end. And I forgot about all the pain, and I just kept matching their pace. And yeah, it was an amazing accomplishment.
So how did you come up with this goal in the first place?
On May 5th, 2019, I came up with my whys, and that was one of the ones I always wanted to do. I thought, well, I laughed when I said out loud, I was in my office, and I said, how about a marathon? And I started laughing. Oh, that's ridiculous. Like, there's no way I could, but that, hey, they said, pick something that would really inspire you. And I thought, well, that would really inspire me. Like, that's something tangible, physical I could actually do.
Right.
And so that kind of shaped a lot of how I approached the program and stuff because of that goal. It was a big one. I had 4 other ones that are not realized yet, but they're almost there. So
you're freaking me out here because May 5th is my birthday.
No way. That's cool.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so it's out there, Life Possible Community, Ideal Protein Nation. May 5th, Cinco de Mayo is my birthday.
Yeah, it was Cinco de
So
Mayo Day. Yeah, that's how I
yeah,
remember
you can
that date.
send your gifts here. I mean, so yeah, I thought that was really kind of neat. And we'll get to that a little bit later in the show as well. But you kind of have 5 whys or 5 goals that you have in the back
Yeah,
of your head that you're,
yeah,
that,
absolutely.
and that was a part of your ideal protein journey, right?
Yeah, that I play a game with myself. The concept of games is pretty cool. I do with my clients as well. So you want to pick a game to play, and it has to be worth it. So, and anything can be a game, right? All a game is you say something over there is more important than something over here. So putting the basketball in the hoop is more important. I say it's more important than not putting in the hoop, right? Playing basketball. So that's kind of like the structure of a game. And so one of the things I'm going to play the game of running a marathon. So now once you enter into that, okay, what are the rules? What does it look like? So lots of research, lots of reading, talking to people, things like that flow out of my commitment to play a game. So cool concept.
Wow. And again, something we haven't talked about yet. You've got so many. You're going to say so many cool things today.
I know.
So
They just flow out of me, man.
how long did you train? Again, because
May,
this.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm ready to answer that question. So May to October this year, I started in May. I phased off the protocol the end of April. So the beginning of May is when I first started running. Now, people need to know that when I was 15, 16, I would run. And the reason I ran, I had a really horrible childhood. Like my home I had an evil stepmother, whatever. So in order to get some sanity, I would run. I'd have dinner and I'd run after dinner for like an hour. And it's the only running I ever did in my life. And it kind of stopped when I moved out because I felt I don't need to run anymore to escape anything. So, but I enjoyed it. I liked the solitude. I enjoyed, I was angry. So I would run fast and get out of my system. And so that was the only running I've ever done up till like 16 years old. And then last May.
Wow. That's so amazing. So you started training for this thing in May, and the race came. How did you choose this New York City? This is really cool, and I want you guys to understand this. This was a New York City marathon that he ran. And let's bring that up. And I didn't understand this at the time, but it's so cool. Tell us about this.
It's really cool. So the way the app works, and it's really surprised me. Like I didn't know. I just thought, well, virtual, they just want to track me. So when I started the race, it was 7:00 a.m. here in British Columbia, and I started the race. You can see on the map on the left there. On the right of that map is the green flag. So that's Coquitlam, British Columbia, and that's actually where I live. And then I went along the water because I want a nice scenic route.
Yeah, right.
So I planned my own route on Strava, right? They do that on Strava, and then ended there. So on the map on the right is the virtual map, and you go through the 5 boroughs in New York City. And when you start the race, there's 2 things happening in the app. One is you have a coach. So at 5K, the coach came in and talked to me. At 10K and 15K, the coach talked to me. Halfway mark, 13.1 miles, the coach talked to me. And then towards the end of the race at the 20-mile mark, she said, most people hit the wall. I still haven't hit the wall, John. I don't know what that is or what it feels like. So I don't know.
People and you don't want to.
Okay, good. So I'm happy about that. I hope I never do. But so that came in. And then towards the end of the race, they kind of count down when you come to the finish line, but it's all in your ears. And then every borough, so I go into Queens, and then you'd have like a guy with a New York accent from Queens talking about, oh, I've done the marathon for, this amount of time every year. He's talking about it. It's awesome because they describe, if you were in Queens right now, this will be happening to you. You would have people all over the streets. They'd be like cheering you on. And this is what you hear. And that's
so cool.
It was delightful. I was laughing. I was like, this is awesome. I felt like I was running in New York, And to really hear the crowd like going, you're going across the Brooklyn Street Bridge right now. This is what it's like. People love the marathons here in New York. Everyone comes out and cheers. I'm like, that's amazing. I want to go there and run by the end of the app. But what happened at the end, so I had my family I didn't know where I would end virtually, but I had my family like about a quarter mile away from where it actually ended. But they were waiting with the, I actually ran more than 13.1. Or 26.2.
26.2, yeah.
Yeah, because I had to run to the finish line where my family was waiting with the streamers and filming me and all that stuff. So when I'm running and they're counting down and it's like, you've just completed something, I think it was something like only 1% of people in the world do or something like this, some statistic that they said. And then they went on about how congratulations and, you're amazing. And I just lost it. Like I was not expecting to be emotional at all. You're very expressive. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a very expressive person. But there I was, and the seawall, we call it the seawall, is very busy. Lots of people around. And you can imagine, I don't know what they thought. There's this guy running and he's crying. He's like, I'm losing it. I didn't care. Who this is amazing. And I'm like, it took me about, I guess 5 minutes just to kind of get a hold of myself, and texts are popping up on my phone. The family's like, where are you? The app says you finished. You know where? I'm like, I'm coming. Just wait for me. Right. And then I had to keep running, and that was really hard.
Right.
I made it. So.
Oh, it was so awesome. Yeah, I was following you on the app and I saw that you had crossed the finish line. I was so psyched for you. And about an hour or two later, I got a couple texts back, a couple messages from you, and I didn't quite realize what was going on. But I have a feeling that, since you posted this, I had a feeling you were texting from the tub.
I was. That bath felt so good. I'm not a bath guy. I'm a shower guy.
Oh, but
when the plan was, a family met me downtown. We were going to go out for lunch. Like, hey, let's go out for lunch after and celebrate and stuff. They'd be really. When I got to the finish line, I turned around and I said, "Let's go home."
Right.
And I just want to relax. I don't care about going out. I don't want to go out. So they weren't disappointed because they didn't really want to go out either. So when I got home, I staggered up. Getting out of the car was really difficult. It's like an hour drive home. And then I get up there and my wife had the bath going before I even got to the top of the stairs. I was so slow. And sitting there, as soon as I got in, nice hot bath, it was like, it was amazing. And then I started feeling amazing. Yeah.
So that really is your toes there.
Those are my toes. And I have them all. I didn't lose any on the run.
So does this qualify as your first naked picture on the internet, or do we want to know the answer to that? All right. That creates a really great segue. And let's actually move to your Ideal Protein journey.
Sure.
Tell us about that. I want to start off because, again, we haven't had that much time together, but in that time, you've shared with me a lot about this and about your life. Let's start from the beginning as far as your journey into obesity.
Sure. When I was a kid growing up, one of the things that I could do is eat and eat and eat. As a matter of fact, my dad used to call me garbage guts. We'd be out with friends and, oh, you can't finish your plate. Give it to garbage guts. He'll eat it. And then I got all this attention. I would eat I'd eat till I stuffed myself. And I loved it because people would like, oh my gosh, you have a wooden leg. My grandma and grandpa was very close to you. Have a wooden leg. So that was the programming earlier on to food, right?
Okay.
So it was something that got me attention that, it was, and I like attention. So that was okay with me. And then as I kind of grew up, I was, great metabolism. I never was fat, never at all, or obese, or never gained weight growing up as a teenager or young kid, because I was always active, very active, and cycled a lot, lived in a small town, didn't always live in Vancouver, but I lived in a very small town called Vernon, and grew up there. Loved that town. Close to lots of friends, no, really nice upbringing, except the time with my stepmom and that stuff that was really difficult. But I never went to food to emotionally eat or anything. It was never food. I love food. I love the taste of it. Love, most people love food, but I just, one thing my stepmother did really well was she was a gourmet cook. And so she would experiment. We'd have these amazing meals. Like we're talking like absolutely mind blowing meals. And so, that, and then in school I took cooking because I love food. So and I learned how to really cook. I do most of the cooking here at home. I just absolutely love it. So when I got married at 20 years old, met my wife when I was 16. And, we got married. I was 20. My first year I was married. I always go to the doctor every year for a checkup because that's a thing you do. And my first year I got married on July 7th, 1990. And then, so it was the next July in 91, I went in for a physical, and my doctor was really concerned. He goes, you've gained 40 pounds. Like,
hello.
My first year I was married, I gained 40 pounds. I said, well, yeah, I mean, I have someone at home now that cooks for me. I don't skip all these meals I used to skip and stuff. And it's great. So he's a little concerned, but I never, so I was 220. I was 220 pounds. Or pardon me, no, it was 230 actually. This is 190. So what is that? 40 pounds? Yeah, 230.
Yeah.
So yeah, there I was. And which wasn't really like I looked good at 230. Like I was, I'm 220 now, so I'm pretty close. I could still stand to some more, but I looked pretty good. I mean, I wasn't like, I wouldn't say I was like really obese at that point. But then as life started going on, my wife likes to bake when she's stressed out, and she had a very stressful job at the bank, and she baked a lot. So that got in the way. I started gaining a lot there. I said, look, you got to take this food and give it to your employees and stuff. Like it's not healthy. 5 years later, we started having kids and all that stuff. And I ended up getting up to about 280. And then I went on an Atkins diet. At that point, this is around 1999 to 2000. I went on an Atkins diet. I went down to 250, which is pretty great, but I got real sick of the diet. So I ended up going off of the diet. And then something happened where I just kind of got resigned that, well, I guess I'm just going to be fat. I love food too much. I can't stop it. I mean, I can't not eat. So that was kind of what was going on in here. Now, the whole time I'm getting into coaching, and in 2003, I worked for Dale Carnegie Training. I got hired with them, and I started getting into training and then coaching. And so being in the success training business, I started, working on myself, because I found like the more I worked on myself, the better coach I was. Did my own business, things like that. So the downside of that was I really fell in love with myself. Like, I love me, the fat me. Like, I don't have to be thin to love me. I can love me the way I am.
Yeah.
There was no impetus to change. There was no, like, why change? I love myself. It's not like I have a bad, it's not like I'm fat for that. I was overweight because I love food. So I guess that's the price I pay. And that was the mindset that I had.
Yeah. We kind of talked about that. And you said, you were looking at it as, it's my choice to eat the way that I do. And, it's.
I would have a client even bring it up to me, my weight. And I would say I would be really, really straight with them about it. I eat like this. I'm this weight because I love food and I eat the way I want to eat. And that's the price I pay. And I'm more than willing to accept that.
Yep.
And so that's, some people felt it was really sad. There was people that, but I mean, I just couldn't see the other side of this.
Yes.
So, and I ended up getting worse health-wise. So I had a fatty liver. I had to go in for an ultrasound, and the doctor wanted to prescribe all these drugs for me. And it was like, I hate drugs. I don't like taking drugs. I've always been, even when I was a kid, I didn't like the idea of taking something synthetic, Like it just didn't feel right to me. So I didn't, it's never been like that. I'd suffer with the headache. I'd have pineapple, which would help with the headache, things like that. I was only drinking about 1 or 2 glasses of water a day, if that. And let's see, I was on 50 milligrams a day of atenolol, 5 milligrams of cilazapril, and I was even taking colchicine for my gout. So the food I was eating,
you had it all going on.
Gout flare-ups. That was brutal. I was in the hospital one time. My knee flared up so bad I had to wear a thing for 2 weeks on my right leg, which is the gas pedal leg. But I would get into the car from the passenger side, let my leg go over to and I would drive with my left foot to go.
Oh my God. No way.
Yeah, I never missed a client appointment. I would always show up with my leg in a brace. It's just gout. It'll get better.
Yeah, right.
So that was life. So
then what happened? I mean, what went on to turn things around or to get you even thinking about this is actually the wrong course for me?
I never really felt that trying to put into words is tough to actually put the way feeling into words, but I was never depressed really. I was sick, definitely. And I was definitely overweight, but I was never depressed. But there are things I wanted to do. Like the first clue was we went to Universal Studios in Florida with a family. And all the rides where you had to be 250 pounds or less, right? And I was like 300 pounds. So I just sat there and watched my kids go on a ride. And after like the 4th, 5th, and I love roller coasters. So after the 4th or 5th roller coaster, I was feeling like really like depressed, kind of, I would say, like really down, like this sucks. Like I really want to go on a roller coaster. Yeah. And I can't. And there was something like I just was really angry almost about it. And so that's when things started like maybe this isn't a good way, George, to just accept this as your fate. Maybe you need to think about what it would take for you to. So I started contemplating this. And I had the opportunity to get a job, get a position. I'm not a very good employee because I've been self-employed most of my life. And I had an old past client who really wanted to bring me on board. He was really growing his business. And he really had this core belief that you build the people and then the business grows as well. You grow the people and the people are the business, so then the business grows. That was his philosophy. And he loved my work and he loved the coaching we did together. And I did some training programs that I created for his business kind of and left his people to do it. And he says, well, I want you to come on board as our, chief training officer or whatever. Like you're the guy and you just create trainings and we'll hold you accountable for results. And like, this was a mind blowing conversation because that is like my dream gig. And he's like, he goes, I get that you're not the best employee. I don't care. I want you here. That's why I want you to be an employee. I don't want to do contract work. I want you to be an employee and be all bought in. And I'm like, okay, cool. So the goal was to have I had to interview all his leadership team because I would be part of that leadership team. And so I had over the course of a month, I had about 6 different meetings. Meetings went for an hour, 1 to 2 hours per meeting. And just us back and forth, just drilling each other, really connecting, really getting authentic, real, being really straight in the conversations. And what would you do? What's your vision? These type of things they would ask me. So I come back, what's your vision? What do you do? Right. And it was like this really. They were intense meetings. And this company is a really great company. Like they're very professional people, like really committed to business and and I love business. That's like one of my loves. And so there was such a affinity for each other during this. And then the feedback came. So I went out to Kevin's house. Kevin's the CEO. I went up to his house. He lives in the outskirts of Vancouver. And we just spent the morning together. And part of it was to discuss this project and the potentiality of me coming on board, things like that. So then he gets to the feedback part. He goes, okay, I'm going to deliver the feedback the way that you like it. And he knows I like it straight, not candy coated, because I just feel like we waste a lot of time. And we've been friends for 12 years. So I don't think, he needs to couch anything or whatever. So he gave feedback, and it was like, I was good with all the feedback until he got to the point, he got really quiet and he says, listen, I know you really well. And he goes, this is hard for me to deliver to you, but there was the biggest concern of all this is they don't know if you're even going to be healthy enough to last in the role. Like that was like a big, and I go like, how so? And then he started telling me about what people said, what was interesting was it wasn't coming from a place like they weren't shaming me or it was none of that was in the conversation. It was really straight, authentic conversation. And these people really love me. Like there's, like I said, lots of affinity there. They could be like, all of them could be friends, right? Like it's just that kind of a relationship. So when I heard this, I guess I heard things like that before, but when it was now my weight is in the way of me actually doing what I really love to do.
Yeah.
Like that I never considered that before, that my weight would actually impede, because it's up to this point, it's never impeded my work.
Right.
Like I'm not aware. I'm sure it has, but I'm not aware up to this point that it was impeding my work. So that's
to me, in hearing all of that and trying to be in that situation with you, right? Because again, to know you is to love you right out of the gate. So these guys, like, oh my God, this guy is awesome. I see what you mean, why you want to bring him on board. It's going to be so great. But I got to tell you, I'm really concerned about his health. I mean, is he really going to be able to lead us for a long period of time? Right. I mean, that's.
Yeah. And then what somebody said there's like a glaring discrepancy in integrity here between what he espouses and talks about.
Right. Yep.
And I wanted to say, screw you.
Right. Because this is what I do. Right. It's my choice to eat this way. Right. You know what though? And I want to go back to that thought too, right? That you were like, look, you resigned yourself to the fact that this is just the way it's going to be. Yeah. And you kind of just embraced it. And this is who I am and what I do. And I got to tell you, I identify with that, and because that's where I was. You get to the point where you've tried what is supposed to work, and it only gets you so far. It doesn't really do the job. And I got to a point where there was no way out of my obesity. There was no way out of being that big guy. And so I just resigned myself to it. And so it's kind of like, well, no, I enjoy this. This is what I do. I'm the funny fat guy. Lay off me. Right. But deep down inside, there was that, if there is a way out of here and I find out what it is, I'm going to take it. Right.
100%.
Yep. But there was just no way.
Described exactly where I was at. Yep. That's it.
Yeah. And again, I hope that people out there identify.
Magnifying glass on it. This conversation I'm talking about with Kevin put a magnifying glass on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Huge. So then what happened?
Well, I left stunned. I was stunned. I was kind of in a daze. Even Lorene would say, "What's wrong with you?" I'd say, I couldn't even talk to my wife about it. I was like, I would just get really emotional. I'd say, I can't talk about it. And she'd go, whoa, well, that's never happened.
Right.
So it took me about a week to just talk about it. So we're out on a date night, and I said, we go on date nights, and the rule is like, we're not allowed to talk about work, kids, or finances. So unless, do you want me to get the check? That's the only finance.
That's the only one.
So I talked about it with her, and she's awesome. My wife, she's amazing. So that helped. Nothing really. What came of that was just talking to someone about it, and that's how the journey kind of started. And so I'm kind of looking for, like, I'm doing life, but I'm looking for. By the way, this project got on hold. It just went on hold, and honestly, I talked to Kevin about it now. It had absolutely nothing to do with that, with my weight or my health or anything like that. It just, something else happened in the business, and the project was halted. And now with COVID, it's halted forever. So that's what they said. So anyways, my pastor, Terry, absolutely love Terry. He's one of our people. You would love him too. Amazing.
Yeah, I bet.
So we would meet and talk. And then I noticed he's losing weight. And I said, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? I go, oh, I met this lady in my complex. So he lives in this apartment complex. And she's been talking to me and stuff. But I did this program called Ideal Protein. And it's great. Like, well, tell me about it. He's like, well, I meet with a coach. And then I was like, okay, tell me about it. Because I know that coaching works. I'm a coach and I know the power of coaching. And I was like, whoa, you meet with a coach? He's like, yeah, every week. I'm just like, this is insane. Tell me about this. So that was I couldn't get enough. I was like riveted. I got on the internet. I read loads and loads and loads. And I thought, oh, well, this is a good program. But I know my friend Zan. I know she has a health or diet clinic. And I know she, it's got to be something similar because I know she does coaching as well. But I don't know if it's this intense kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So there she is. And so I contacted her and I says, listen, I'd like to do this or look at what you do. So I made an appointment, went in for the intake session, and they were like, you definitely could benefit from the program and whatever. And what was of concern was that I was on blood pressure medication and I was pre-diabetic and they wanted my doctor on board. Yep. So I kind of rolled my eyes. I said, my doctor's, he's kind of a tough nut to crack. Like they go, well, we'll work with him, whatever. I'm like, okay. So I emailed my doctor. I said, I wanted to do this program. He was just not going to have it. Like, he's like, it's a fat diet, exercise and eat less. That's all you have to do. And I was like, well, okay. So,
and isn't that, again, to me, that part of it drives me bananas. Do you think I haven't tried that?
I know.
And to hear a medical professional use that as his advice for you to lose weight, just doesn't get it. And at that stage of your game, I can't even imagine staying there, right? But keep going.
So I went in and I had a come to Jesus moment with him. And I said, Doc, I always call him Doc. He's been my doctor for 15 years. So I was like, Doc, I'm going to do this program. So if you're not going to sign off on this, I'm going to go to a clinic and find someone that will. I'll keep going. And he knows me and he knows, because I'd rather you do it with me because I'm like, okay. So he wrote this letter and I laughed and he didn't care. And the letter said something to the effect of, I don't approve of fad diets like this, but I approve for George to take the diet or whatever. It was like,
yeah. Awesome. What a great letter.
Fad diets. Love that. So off I went and I'm like, okay, I want to start. And I said, oh, we're going to Italy in May, June. And they said, oh, no, we're not going to start you on the program. And when you're going to Italy, that's just mean and cruel. So, the land of food, you're going to be able to eat food you've never eaten before there, and the taste and all that. Like, we'll put you on phase 4 because it was just phase 3 now. So
now, and you know what? I want people to listen up because I thought this was absolutely a brilliant approach to your situation, right? I never would have come up with this, and I think this is brilliant. So listen up, people. I think this is cool. So there's we're gonna, you're gonna be accountable to the coach, but you have to come in. We'll just do it by phone, and like the 3 weeks before you leave, and whatever. I said, okay, sure, I'm game for anything, but will I be able to eat past it? Oh yeah. And so I started reading the phase and what was entailed, and 2 cups. I started adding vegetables to my diet. My diet was pretty much straight carbs. I mean, like everyone else in North America. And so just adding the 4 cups of veggies a day, that was it was difficult to eat bad food when you are eating such good food first. Mm-hmm. And it makes it very, very difficult to put, because you're full. Like, there's not as much room in there for it, right?
No. So I went to Italy. I was there for about a month. My wife got her work paid for her for 2 weeks. So I would do these one-day excursions, free hotel from her work, paid for it. And then the last 2 weeks we were together and we went out. Of course, you're eating out every night, and the food was absolutely phenomenal. I remember going to McDonald's because we got sick of the hotel breakfast after 3 weeks. The same thing in every hotel in Italy is the same breakfast Continental. And I was like,
Yeah,
can we
right.
just go to McDonald's? Like just to say we've been to McDonald's in Italy and grab a McDonald's, like a burger or whatever they have for. So I'm there at McDonald's and they had this, I ordered orange juice, right? And they had this machine. The guys, it had, I have a video of it I can send you, but because I was shocked, but these real oranges were piled up and the machine with these oranges would roll down and it would slice the orange and squish this fresh orange juice into the cup. And the guy would give it to me and I'd say, is this at every McDonald's in Italy? He's like, yeah.
Wow.
He spoke perfect English, which is great. And he goes, what do you have in Canada? I go, we do it from concentrate. He goes, what's that? I said, well, they
Right.
and I explained concentrated orange juice to him and he was horrified.
Yeah, right.
We would be shut down if we did that. Like, you know, and it was so like different there.
Yeah.
The whole food situation. Well, I lost like 10 pounds. Like most people go to Italy and gain.
Right.
Like
right.
I lost 10 pounds. I'm just like, wow, I haven't even started yet. I lost 10 pounds.
The brilliance of that, they put you on the maintenance lifestyle program, which was, it just demonstrates how much different that was than the standard North American diet that you were eating, to the point where you actually lost weight on vacation and got the ball rolling.
Yep.
That's great. So you came back.
I came back and I started, I think June 26th was my very first day on the protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was really nervous. And I knew I had a job where I travel, fly a lot. And so I was really like, how is this going to work? And but one of the commitments I have was, integrity is, we'll get into that later, but that kept me figuring out. So I would have to do a lot of research before I would fly. Like I would spend probably an hour to an hour and a half before a trip just researching how I'm going to fulfill on my commitment to stay on the protocol. So that was things like I would first of all, like, okay, I'm going to be in Edmonton. So is there any, how many, I would say, if I need food, is there Ideal Protein Clinic? So idealprotein.com, I put in Edmonton and then the hotel address, and then I see where's the closest IP if I need to run there for something. And then I click on it. What are the hours? And I record that information. There's a few other, sometimes I'd have to call the clinic and say, look, I'm doing the protocol and traveling. Yep. Would you allow me to purchase from you if I need to, that kind of thing? Do you deliver? Can you to the hotel? Is whatever. So those are the things that I would have to do. Even airports, I'd have to research airports. So, so I couldn't bring food with me past the security. So, I would need 4 cups of veggies or 2 cups of veggies at least. Where would I get that? So I would have to research all of the places to eat in the airport. That took something, right? It took something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that was kind of how it was.
Well, again, this is you're talking about a really above average commitment to the program, and if all of our clients had this approach, we'd be at 100% successful instead of just 90. And,
absolutely,
our jobs would be so easy. So I want to get into this because I want everybody to understand the approach that you took to this program. And this comes out of your training. This comes out of your coaching. This comes out of a lot of foundational stuff that again, you coach. So therefore you live, correct?
Yeah. One of the things I will touch on is having compassion for people. Like you and I were both in the same mindset, and having compassion for the obese, I think, is absolutely essential. I was very moved 2 weeks ago. I have breakfast with a good friend of mine. His name's Pierre, and Pierre and I are close friends. And every Thursday morning, I cook breakfast, bring it over to him, or I'll pick something up on the way. We'll have breakfast together for about an hour and then we'll go on our day. So couple weeks ago, I'm meeting with Pierre, and he had to do a meeting with my cousin that does some business work in another small town. And I talked to your cousin. And he said, we talked about your weight loss journey. I says, oh, okay. What do you have to say? Because I never really talked to him about it. And he's like, yeah, he goes, we're all inspired by you, man. And he says, but, he said something, and this is what really moved me. He said that most people, when they lose that kind of weight, become real dicks. And you didn't do that. Like, and I mean, that is funny, but it moved me, like
Absolutely, right?
They really are impacted that so that moved me, because one of my commitments as a human being is to love and care for people. Right. And it's really deep within me. And it's because of my relationship with Jesus, and he loves and cared for people. And so I have this ridiculous commitment to love every human being, even people that treat me horribly. I love them. And so when they said that, it was like a confirmation of that commitment that I'm living out.
Yeah. Right.
And so that's where this compassion for the obese comes. As I have a very good friend I talked to yesterday. She's lost 100 pounds in the protocol. You're going to interview her next year.
I'm on board.
Not done yet. She's got another 100 or so pounds to go.
Yeah.
And she said that it was how I treated her and talked to her that made her start. Well, I had a good cry with her yesterday on the phone. I mean, it was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And again, authenticity being one of your strong points too. And we'll get to that. But, again, it's a situation now that when you see people who are currently where you used to be, right?
Yeah.
When you see people, you can just see it in their face. You can see it behind those eyes. You can see the pain. You can see the resignation, right? And so, and I've likened it to, like, once you become born again, all you want to do is go around and save the world, right? Save everybody that you can.
Oh yeah.
You
don't understand.
This is the same thing. I mean, it's like, look, I thought it was futile. I thought, that was going to be the rest of my life. And I never, ever understood that I could have a chance at life again and feel this good. And you want to do your best to reach out to them and help them, give them the encouragement and the courage to start their own journey.
Boy, you said it. You absolutely said it. And I want to just read this. It's a really quick email I sent to my coach, and this was sent on August 25th of 2019. So I'm almost like 2 months on the protocol at this time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
July, August. Yeah. So I'm 2 months ago. Listen to this. Hey, coach, I'm on a flight right now, and I'm so excited. I just had to share. First of all, I got to the airport super early, got through security. I was able to bring a bag of Dorados with me and spent 45 minutes walking through the airport to look for my lunch for the plane. I found a veggie package with at least 2 cups of veggies, broccoli, cauliflower, celery, and grape tomatoes. Great. Lunch is covered. Then, when I got onto the plane, I had a really nice surprise. I was able to put the seatbelt on without any trouble. You see, when I went to Italy in June, I had to suck in my gut. I had to suck my gut in and pray that I could get the seatbelt on. It was very, very stressful. Sometimes I would barely get it to click. Other times I would have to get an extension. This time when I put the seatbelt on, I had slack. I had to tighten it. WTF? I'm a slacker.
I love it.
George.
And gosh, as a coach, when that email comes across, that just makes you so excited, right? It's those non-scale victories that are sometimes the coolest. So very important to let your coaches know when those things happen and to brighten their day. That was a fantastic thing that you did there. So yeah, let's talk about this uncommon commitment to the protocol and what forms the basis of that.
Well, integrity forms the basis to it, and there's a fellow out of Harvard. His name is Michael C. Jensen, and he got involved in some work that Werner Erhard did, and this whole world is a coaching discipline called ontological coaching, which I fell in love with years and years ago. And I
Mhm.
love ontology because ontology is the art and science of being. And so the work that I do with my clients is at the level of being, because we're human beings, not human doings, right? Is the same.
Yep.
So integrity was a really cool distinction. And what Michael did was he took this idea of integrity and he removed it from being a like a judgment that you're somehow good or bad or right or wrong, and he related it to first of all integrity for an object. So one of the things that they would say is like, okay, back then they would say Lance Armstrong, right, was a guy who before the race he would check over his bike for integrity, because if his bike was out of integrity, that would mean that the conditions have not been met for him to actually win the race. So that's how integrity is related to performance with an object. And this is really great for us to understand. We know this. You have a bicycle tire and you take the spokes out, you've got a tire that lacks integrity. And therefore, intrinsically that the performance of that tire is greatly diminished.
Mhm.
You know
Yep.
that. And so what he says is that integrity for a human being has to do with language, because we live in language like a fish lives in water. So one of the tenets of what constitutes a human being. So it's our language, our moods and emotions, and our physiology. Those three things in ontology make up what we call a human being. And so if you shift one of those, the other two shift like gears in an engine. So
Mhm.
the easiest way to work with someone is language, because it's just you have quick access to it. But I've also worked with clients and myself with moods and emotions and with physiology. I had a client one time who couldn't say no. And then I said, imagine someone's about to kill your wife and your kids. And then he posed a certain way.
Mhm.
Came up. And I said, okay, well, that was a physiology. That's his no physiology. So then we went through, someone wants you to do something you don't want to do, put your shoulders up. And he had access to saying no. So
Right. Right.
powerful. Like it's just, instant access.
Very powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. And neuro-linguistic programming, it sounds like that.
I was just going to say, all that Tony Robbins stuff that I got back
Right.
in the
Yeah,
80s and
it's
90s.
very similar in some ways.
Yeah.
It makes me neuro-linguistic programming makes me nervous because it depends on the practitioner if it can be used for evil or good, right? So yeah, ontology is not that way. It's you have to get in the person's world, which is another distinction. People have worlds.
Yeah.
And you when you coach, you're getting into that person's world, and then you coach from their world, not your world.
Yep.
Most of us, when we have conversations, we're coming from our world.
Right.
Putting the world over there in your world. Well, ontology begins with, basically it's the model that Jesus talked about being a servant. He wants to be greatest in the kingdom of God, has to be a servant of all, which really is close to my heart. So getting in someone's world is being of service. So, then there's the difference between pleasing people and serving people. When we're kids, we learn that if we do the right thing, mom and dad gives us money. Then when we grow up, the customer just becomes mom and dad. We please them and we get money, right? But you're not necessarily doing or taking actions in that person's best interest necessarily. And that's what service is. Where you are being of service means that I'm going to have conversations and do things and take actions in that person's best interest. Very selfless. And that's servant leadership. So having said that, integrity when it comes in, so integrity for human being then has to do with language and ultimately it's looking at yourself as who you are and who I are is we are a body of commitments. We all have commitments, and some of them are hidden commitments. We don't know sometimes we're committed to something, but how can we tell? In what we're doing, in our actions. Like at one point, I was really committed to watching TV more than spending time with my wife or my kids. It's useful to know that. I want to know that I have a hidden commitment so I can unhide it and then not do it anymore. So the process of ontological coaching has to do with you keep uncovering blind spots and blind spots and blind spots in who you're being as a human being. So anyways, integrity then is honoring your word, which is very different than keeping your word. It's not keeping, it includes keeping your word, but honoring your word means you give your word the highest honor of anything else.
Okay.
And I always say, how we honor our word, there's only two ways you can honor your word. The first way you honor your word is to keep your word. You do what you said you were going to do when you said you were going to do it. The second way to honor your word is to be in communication about your word as soon as you know that you can't keep your word. And you're in communication with whoever that impacts. So yesterday I went to a meeting, a coffee shop over here, and I was 5 minutes late. So I as soon as I got in the door, right, I said, hey, Mike, listen, Mike, I was supposed to be here at 10. It's 10:05. I just want to acknowledge that. And then, so how are you? Good. Boom. And it's when you live a life of integrity, that's what it looks like in like on the court, real life. Like,
and when we started discussing it the other day, it hit me right in my heart because if you'll remember, what episode was Dean Kilby? My buddy Dean Kilby in Australia. I loved it when he started talking about these concepts, and I didn't understand the background from which he was coaching or coming from. I knew that he had spent years as a personal growth coach, and when he talked about honoring your word with that Australian accent, I mean, like, who wouldn't honor their word after they heard him say it like that? But I just thought that was an amazing concept, and the way that he applied it to his Ideal Protein clients was that if they were going to deviate from the protocol, if they were going to eat something that was not in the protocol, they had to take a picture of it first and text it to them. And I literally just put two and two together when you were talking about that, communicating it ahead of time. And that was how he got them, and coached from a place of integrity. I absolutely
100%.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't make it wrong that they do that. Look, it's okay to deviate if you want to. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not bad and wrong that you deviate. It just doesn't work. So one of the laws of integrity is without integrity, nothing works. So conversely then, with integrity, things work, right? And And also you can now evaluate in your own life, where in my life are things not working? I went to I had a potential client meeting one time, this is years ago, and I get there and we're supposed to meet, I think it was like in the morning, like about 8:30. So I'm there at 8:20, and I get in there at maybe 8:25 into the office, and the receptionist says, okay, well, he'll be right with you. Just says, okay, be right with me. Great. It's got 5 minutes. Right. And, I think it was like 10:09. He invites me in. So he's 20 minutes late. I'm like, okay, interesting. So we get into his office and we start having a conversation. He doesn't say a thing. Doesn't say a thing about being 20 minutes late, leaving me out there standing. So one of the other principles in ontology is how you do anything is how you do everything. And this is a biblical principle too. Jesus talks about how you're faithful in little things, you'll be the same way with the big things, right?
Yep.
So how you do anything is how you do everything in your life. So in the middle of the conversation, I blurted out, I said, things aren't really working around here, are they? And he goes, what? He's a little taken back. And I said, I know that you're having issues with performance in your company. That's probably why we're talking about. He goes, why would you say that? You don't know. I go, well, I know that you left me for 20 minutes over there without saying a thing. I don't care that you left me for 20 minutes, but
hang it.
You didn't say anything about it. You didn't clean it up. You didn't even mention, say, hey, sorry to make you, nothing. Just like, I'll see you now. So that's interesting to me, I said to him, because that little thing that just happened, that's not random. You do that everywhere in your company. You're the CEO, and so you tolerate that everywhere because you do it, right? Unless you feel something's really important, then you don't do it. I don't know. Maybe a judgment or evaluation there. But I say, if we work together, one of the things that we'll be doing is we'll be looking at honoring your word, right? And I introduce this to him. It's powerful. People don't get it though.
Very powerful.
Really offended, and because they have the old interpretation that I'm a good person. I always say this has nothing to do with you being a good person.
Right.
Be a good person. Be a bad. That's your business. It has everything to do with performance and whether things are going to work or not. So if you want workability, and it's not instant workability. So as you practice integrity, Michael says it's like going up a mountain with no top. So if you do have a negative view of integrity, or if you have the interpretation that integrity has to do with you being a bad person, it guarantees you'll be out of integrity, because you can't look for where you're out of integrity thinking that it's bad if you're out of integrity. We don't like to judge ourselves as bad.
Right.
You know? And so there's this natural avoidance to even looking. But if
Sure.
you just blow that up and you say, hey, it has to do with workability, it has to do with performance, now I'm interested. I want to look, where am I not honoring my word? And it takes people, on average, I've noticed over the last 15 years working with people, it takes about 3 months of every day working with this distinction to actually get it so you're not making yourself bad and wrong. I still make myself bad and wrong sometimes. But it's making yourself bad and wrong that ends it. The power.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really
and it's a fantastic place to coach the ideal protein protocol from, because again, as we talk about it, right, deviation from the protocol, you don't get results. And so staying in integrity with the protocol, your performance will be good, your results will be the best, right?
Yeah. I used to tell my son, who wouldn't take the garbage out, I used to say, look, it's not that you don't take the garbage out. Like, that's not what I care about. It's that you don't tell me you're not going to take the garbage out. If you said, Dad, I know you want me to take garbage out, I'm just not going to do it, then I'll take it out. I'll make sure the garbage gets done, right? But that's the breakdown in performance right there. And it happens in companies all the time, everywhere.
Right, right.
Yeah. And so I'm interested in where I'm out of integrity. And I have absolutely no issue with it. Like, and I like this. Oh, he's a man of integrity. She's a woman of integrity. You can't have integrity. I always tell people, I can't cut John open and go, oh, John got the integrity gene. How come I didn't get it? You can't have it. It's generated in the moment and gone. And that's why it's a mountain with no top, and you're walking and walking. The practice is you're always calling yourself out, constant, constant, constant. Now, who wants to do that and make yourself wrong 50 times a day? So that's why it takes people so much longer to get this. But once they get it, they love it. Love stuff.
Yeah, once they understand, why can't I perform in this aspect of my life? Well, let's start to review that and figure out what's not in integrity.
And no one looks at the word. That's the last thing people look at.
Yeah, right. And so then again, this is also part of something that you brought up, the 4 foundations of leadership.
Yeah, this was a really cool leadership program that I think it was Werner Erhard, Kerry Granger, Michael C. Jensen, and Steve Zaffron came up with. Those 4 people. Amazing work they did. You can download the whole thing on CERN for free. I mean, they published all their work. It's all about, they want human beings to get this work and to apply it and do it. Like, so it's amazing stuff. So responsibility, authenticity, and being committed to something bigger than oneself. Those are the 4 foundations of leadership. In other words, if you give me somebody, I used to argue with a friend of mine, Tom, who's a pastor, and he used to, are leaders born or are they made? And I said, they're definitely made. I would say it's both. They're all born and then they're made. And then he's like, oh, there's people I know that they could never be leaders. I'm like, send them to me. In 3 months, I'll have them a leader. How would I do that? I just go through all these 4.
Yeah, right.
With their integrity, then you start responsibility. Now, responsibility is really different in ontology. So responsibility literally means cause in the matter. So try that one on. That's a really powerful distinction. So
you teach me that, because you started fascinated by that.
It's very fascinating. So responsibility is all about I'm cause of everything. It's not the truth, right? Now, I believe in God, Jesus Christ, stuff like that, right? We're Christians. And so I believe God causes things. Like he's right. But for living in this earth and being an effective leader, when you come from, it's just a really powerful place to come from.
I
don't relate to it like it's true that I cause everything. I relate to it like it is true in the moment when I'm putting it on. So Dean talked about trying it on like a coat. When you go shopping, you put a coat on. Right. So this is what you would do. You would try on your cause in the matter. And this really exploded for me when I was taking a training program, and they were saying, look, you got to be cause in the matter here. So we looked at our relationships, and I had a blowout with my sister, and she came unglued, and she called my wife names, which blew my mind because my wife's the sweetest person ever, right? And my kids took them 3 days to recover from this explosion.
Wow.
So I just didn't ever want to talk to my sister again. And what happened in that exchange was I said to my sister, she was, having being brought up with a stepmom who verbally abused me, I'm very sensitive when people are mean or unkind to others, particularly family members. And she said to her daughter, my niece, she said something like, she said something really nasty. I can't remember what it is. But I remember I said to my sister, I said, in front of everybody, I said, do you have to be so nasty? Right? And she just lost it. Like she just lost it. And my wife said, you need to leave. Right. And it was ugly and not good. So at this time, it'd been 2 years since I talked to my sister, and I was pretty happy. I didn't really care. My life was better without her in it. That was kind of how it was for me. In this program, I was really confronted with poor relationships and then, making them better kind of thing. And I really didn't want to take on my sister, but the coach made me. No, the coach didn't make me. It felt like that. They just kept saying, look, that's where you're going to get the best training, is this relationship. Like, so I'm walking down the street on a break and I'm like, okay, let's try this on. How did I cause my sister to do that? Like, I'm not in her head. Like, this is crazy. Right. And that's kind of how I started. But I said, I'm going to stay with it. I caused it. So how did I cause it, right? And what's really cool is because I was looking from I caused everything, like I caused this, I saw my conversation at the table completely different. So imagine you're at a family gathering and someone says something in public and embarrasses you in front of everybody. That was me. Do you have to be so nasty? So I judged her, right? Made her feel like really low, right? Because I was reacting to how she was making her daughter feel, right? Now that conversation I could have had with her in private. I didn't have to do that in front of everybody.
Right.
And her reaction, it was a threat to her self-being, her as a mother, like people seeing her as a terrible person. And that's what she was reacting to. She wasn't reacting. And then anyone speaking to her to try and calm her down was just a threat. So I could have handled that way differently. I could have handled that. So then I get into communication with her. So get this. This is unbelievable. So my sister, every time I talked to her during these 2 years, she'd always turn it around. She'd say, well, you were a jerk or whatever. And then I couldn't get anywhere. So I just hang up the phone, whatever. So then I call her and I say, Kayla, I said, I just want to talk to you. Remember 2 years ago at Easter and this thing happened? So you're going to go through this again. No. I said, I really want you to know the way I spoke to you, I just realized I'm a little slow, but I just realized I really embarrassed you. Like I said in front of everybody. She goes, well, yeah, you did. And I says, yeah. I said, Kayla, I'm so sorry. I said, I didn't even think about it. I said, I was reacting. And then I said this and it was terrible. And this is the part that made me just bawl. She started going on. I'm the one that should be apologizing. She says, I swore and I called Lorene all these names. I was awful. She goes, I am sorry. And I'm just like dumbfounded.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a conversation that would have ever happened. But what's powerful about this distinction is when you as a leader take on that you're the cause of everything, you actually take it on that I'm actually the cause of everything. It's so generous and so overwhelming for people that they can't let you have it all. They want to take something naturally.
Wow.
My sister.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Isn't that powerful?
It is very powerful. Yeah. No, and I've heard this concept of responsibility brought up a couple of different times. One of them being, doesn't David Goggin talk about this a lot?
I think he does. I love his stuff.
Yeah, him and Jocko, and it's
Jocko,
the military, right? It's part of that, right? If you're a leader of a team, SEAL team on a mission, and something goes bad, whose fault is it? Well, the leader takes that on, right? It stops with me.
And Dean said it, 100-0. That's responsibility. 100-0.
Yeah.
No.
All right, let's get back because we are starting to push time a little bit. Let's talk authenticity. You've been nothing short of authentic today, and I kind of have a feeling that that's the way you live your life.
It is because again, it's a distinction. And I'll read a quote to you that is, to me, is really about authenticity. And this is, have you heard of Chris Argyris? He's a Harvard professor. So here's what he said. So Chris Argyris, Argyris, is how you pronounce his name. I call it Argyris. Yep. So Chris said after 40, this is after 40 years, right, of studying human beings, very passionate about human beings. This is what he says about authenticity. He says, put simply, people consistently act inconsistently, unaware of the contradiction between their espoused theory and their theory in use, between the way they think they're acting and the way they really act. That's something. That was in Harvard Business Review in 91.
Let that settle in.
How to learn. Yeah. And so we act. So basically, said it another way, people are, we're inauthentic as human beings. That's where we come from. We're inauthentic. In other words, another way to look at authenticity is, are you running the show or is it something else running the show? Right? Authenticity. Yep. It's a different way of looking at it, but it's like you can't be authentic until you're authentic about your inauthenticities. And as a matter of fact, the only time you're actually really authentic is when you're talking about how you're inauthentic. In that moment, you're authentic. Any other time, something else is running the show. Yeah. And it's this wanting to look good, or at least avoiding.
There it is. Right.
Bad, is the inauthenticity. Being committed to something bigger than yourself. So this is really awesome. This one. Yeah. Yeah. So this is, have you heard that quote by Marianne Williamson from, she wrote a book called something about it's one of my favorite quotes. Mandela said it, I think in his inauguration. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us, right? Yep. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We're all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that's within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And I see that happening in my weight loss journey, people around me. I want to do what you did. Wow, you inspired me. My sister-in-law the other day, she's like, you're inspiring me to do things that were dreams that were dead and gone because you're the marathon, you're doing all this stuff. That's what this is talking about.
Yeah, that's been one of my favorite quotes off and on throughout my life. I absolutely love that.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, right, brother. And and too, that's why I'm doing this podcast. For me, like I said, the Ideal Protein Protocol came as such the amazing answers to so many of my deepest prayers. And it is something that I have committed myself to that is so much bigger than myself. Yeah. The fight against obesity and metabolic disease is one of the most important fights we're in the middle of, not just in North America, but the world. And, when you know that you have such a powerful weapon and you've lived it and you just want to, again, save as many people and help as many people as possible. And
you said
that's what gives me the passion to do this. And I finally just said, you know what the hell, we're going to give this a shot.
Yeah. And it's these four things that we're talking about that are the actual foundation of powerful leadership, and if you give me someone that you think's just a pitiful person and never going to be a leader, like you can see all of these put together, they explode into leadership. And when we're talking about being committed to something bigger than oneself, it's like You want to create, when people are listening to this, doing that, you want to think about and create something that others can like be committed to as well. And that they have a sense that their lives are about something bigger than themselves.
Yep.
That's what you want to get. Like, think Martin Luther King Jr., right? I have a dream. Black and white men walking together. I mean, he really spelled it out, but he was committed to that. And it was way bigger than him. And it outlived him, outlasted him. We're still talking about it. That's something bigger. Or Gandhi, right? The British will walk out of India, will be a free, independent nation. 30 years later, they walked out of India. Amazing integrity, amazing example of being committed to something bigger than yourself. And what it does is have this commitment. It helps you persevere through what we call the valley of tears. Those are when a business owner will get to a point where we all go through those times when, they're very, very difficult times. And what's going to help you hang on is being committed to something big. Is it worth it? So you got to pick something that's really big and includes you.
Yeah.
But honor to be committed to. That's powerful. Yeah.
All right. So real quick, let's start wrapping this puppy up. Again, like a lot of my guests, I kind of feel like there'll be another episode between the two of us. Your company, this is your baby, Reinvention Unlimited. Real quick, who do you work with? Who's your ideal client?
Business owners or pastors, particularly right now, pastors are coming up because they have to reinvent themselves. The church church is suffering right now. I just read a thing on this morning that only 1 out of 5 Christians in North America have been to an online service.
Wow.
Excuse me. It's opposite. 1 out of 5 haven't been. That's still 20%. That's still a lot. But they haven't been. They've just, since church ended, they just haven't been.
Oh, geez.
And that's not good. I mean, that's.
No.
So I started with my church. Terry, he's become a client, and we working together to reinvent our church and just some of the cool things they've invented and systems and stuff. Can you imagine introducing these 4 principles into a church? Wow.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. So, but company owners, I'm working with a few companies right now. I started a advanced leadership training program on Zoom. I have 2 of them going right now. They're really powerful. I did one this morning. I had 11 people in that program, and usually it's only anywhere 10 or 11 people is max. And we do presentations, and then we use that to bring in these principles. It's 12 sessions. So it's a 6-month program every 2 weeks. And I do it from 7 to 9 a.m. So it's early before the day begins. So business owners love that. And they have to bring something every week. I don't babysit them.
That's great.
Like, if they didn't do the assignment, we pass. Like, okay, well, maybe next week you'll do the work. Next person.
All right. So real quick, I also now want to get your take on. I want to get George Watson's definition of life possible.
Really easy. I heard after hearing it 12 times, I had to. I had like 50 different ones for the last 3 days, but in the end, I'd have to say living a life you really love. That's what I'd say it is.
Yep.
It's everything. Yeah.
That's so, again, one of the ways that I had heard it was living a life you don't feel like you need to escape from it.
Absolutely. I love that.
So powerful. So, I'm sorry.
I love your intro when you talk about people living lives that they can't believe, or whatever, how you word it. It's every time I hear it, I love it. It's like it resonates.
So this very last thing that I want to talk about is what's next for George Watson. And actually what I'm going to do mine first, and then I'll let you do yours. Okay. Cause I had this prepared for you. So all I have to say is when I first was communicating with Zan about you, and I saw your first couple of pictures, the before and after pictures, there was this picture of you in a wetsuit.
Yep.
So there you are. Evidently, that means that you swim to a certain degree if you have a wetsuit, right? And then this picture came up where she said, "Yeah, he's a cyclist. He's cycling." And then lo and behold, when we meet on Thursday, all you can talk about is your running and the marathon that you were going to run. And so, to me, I don't know how you didn't see this, but at least here in America, we call this a triathlon. And so my suggestion for what's next at some stage of your game is going to be a triathlon. And I'm just going to toss that.
I don't know. I'm really enjoying this new body and what it can do. And part of going into these things is there sports that I can do by myself and I enjoy them. Climbing is another one I want to take on and try. I want to do climbing.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But now, why don't you share with our viewers and listeners what you shared with me earlier before we started the show?
Yeah, so I'm gonna. Here I am putting my word out there, right? So now,
think twice before you do this.
A Reinvention Unlimited podcast. I want to take it on. You've inspired me, John. Like meeting you and listening to all 12 of them. Just like it didn't occur to me like I can do this because I always knew I could do a podcast, but I never. When I heard you, I thought it really germinated something in me that I really love, and I kind of forgotten about it. Is I've always wanted to interview people that have turned their life around, that have reinvented their company themselves. I told you earlier, like those movies, those where that character has an arc where they're a real jerk and then they, become an amazing human being after. Like I love those type of movies, and I get so inspired by that. And I thought, well, what about real life people? Right?
Yeah,
can do stuff.
Absolutely. So, oh my God, I will be one of your first subscribers. So please keep me updated. We'll promote it as well through this show. I absolutely.
I don't know. Like you've probably already done all the mistakes. I don't want to redo them all.
I will help you in any way I can. You're my brother now for life.
That's right.
Oh, and one of the things I'm trying to figure out is when travel really becomes a thing. I'm trying to figure out how I get to go around the world and meet all my new friends, all my new brothers and sisters that I've made on this podcast.
I'm to Seattle or Washington.
Yeah, right now I'm telling you that West Coast in Canada is a hotbed. Great friends in Alberta. Now in Vancouver. Kind of funny since I'm a Saskatchewan Roughriders fan.
Are you?
Oh, you have to have a Canadian team too, and they've got the coolest name. So
I've never been into sports. Weird.
Finally, something we don't share.
Yes.
All right, dude. Thank you.
That team. I didn't even know that was their name.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate every second. I wish we had more. Like I said, there might be another episode in here. If not, again, I'll just be listening to your show.
Awesome.
All right, dude. Oh, so thank you. Thank you for sticking with us through the show. I hope that you got some really great, amazing things out of George. This one's probably worth listening to more than once. If you watched it and listened to it in your ears and off of iTunes or Spotify or anywhere that you can get podcasts. So for another 2 weeks, if you've heard something here that your friends, family, and anybody else would benefit from, please like it, share it, subscribe to it, spread the word about the Life Possible podcast and George Watson's amazing adventures. And until I see you again, keep going after Life Possible.